You are 300 kilometers from the nearest coast. Look around. There is nothing but black water, an infinite sky, and zero possibility of escape. Welcome aboard the USS Gerald Ford. From the outside, it looks majestic, but from the inside, it is a logistical nightmare of steel. This is not a cruise ship. It is a compressed nuclear city moving through the Pacific in silence. It is loaded with enough firepower to wipe a small country off the map. There are no avenues here, only narrow corridors where you must turn your shoulders to pass. There are no supermarkets, yet they serve 18,000 meals a day. It has no visible hospitals, but it performs complex surgeries on the high seas. We are talking about 5,000 people trapped in a floating tin can. That is a larger population than many British villages, but with a slight difference. In a village, you can go for a stroll in the park if you feel overwhelmed. Here, if you go for a stroll, you either fall into the ocean or get sucked into a jet turbine. And it is not the only monster out there. The United States has 11 of these nuclear giants, such as the Nimitz class, patrolling right now. They are self-sufficient communities designed to survive the apocalypse for months without touching land. But the Ford is the king of them all. It is the most expensive ship in history, $13 billion. For that price, you might expect a hot tub or windows with a view. But no, what you get is a 333-meter, 100,000-ton beast. It can operate for 90 days straight without asking anyone for anything. It is a marvel of engineering. But it is also a golden cage that thinks, defends itself, and projects terror thousands of miles from home. Although it is the most advanced war machine in history, it still has a weak point that engineering cannot eliminate. That point is the thousands of mouths it has to feed. Imagine having to provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner for an entire football stadium every single day. That is what happens on the Gerald Ford. It is a dead zone. Every 24 hours, this floating city must materialize 18,000 meals. And we are not talking about opening tins or throwing emergency MRE rations at them like they are in a trench. We are talking about hot, varied food in the middle of nowhere. The kitchens, which they call galleys here, are factories that never sleep. They operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without breaks. Hunger does not rest, and the staff are not amateurs. They are culinary specialists trained in academies. The menu can be surreal. One day you have burgers and pizzas, and the next you are eating lobster, smoked ribs, or paella while floating above the Mariana Trench. But do not be fooled by the restaurant menu. This is a logistical nightmare. To feed 5,000 people, you need refrigerated warehouses the size of gymnasiums hidden in the bowels of the ship. They are filled to the ceiling with frozen meat, vegetables, dairy, and cereals. Everything is labeled with obsessive precision to last for weeks. They even cater for modern needs: spices, gluten-free products, and vegetarian options. Yes, vegetarian options inside a war machine. The industrial bakery is another world entirely. The ovens never turn off, and fresh bread is produced daily. They cook pasta, soups, and desserts on a massive scale that would terrify any civilian chef. The service lines are like a human assembly line, dispatching 1,200 people per hour. You have less than 60 minutes to swallow your food and get back to work, all while the floor is moving. Sometimes they must cook in the middle of a storm, or worse, try to stop boiling oil from jumping into your face while a 30-ton fighter jet crashes down onto the ceiling above your head. Coordination must be absolute. Every minute counts, and every tray must be perfect. Because thousands of miles from home, locked in this steel box, the sailors know the truth. A good meal is not just nutrition. It is morale, it is mental health, and often the only thing preventing the crew from losing their minds. But even the best steak in the world cannot make you forget you live inside a hermetically sealed steel can. There are no streets here, and no doors to the outside. You are surrounded by an endless ocean. Yet ironically, every inch inside the ship is a battle for space. For the 5,000 crew members of the USS Gerald Ford, this is the harsh reality. Living here is not an adventure. It is a mandatory mental transformation. Let's talk about your personal space, if you can call it that. Sailors sleep in what they call racks, bunk beds stacked 3 high inside collective compartments. They're literally the size of a coffin. Inside that box, you have a reading lamp, an air vent, and a ridiculous amount of storage space. It is minimal and claustrophobic, but it is yours. The privacy curtains are the only barrier between you and madness. Thousands of miles from home, that hole in the wall becomes your only sanctuary. The hierarchy here is measured in square meters. Lower-ranking sailors are stacked in dormitories with dozens of others,
graph illustrates the
sharing
sharp decline in
scents and
strategic
snoring.
bomber production. A trend
Senior
that
non-commissioned
jeopardizes our
officers are
projected
luckier,
capabilities for the
with
next
double
decade.
cabins or small groups. Officers have more comfortable individual cabins, but they are still basic cells. Even the captain sleeps in a room smaller than the cheapest suite in a roadside hotel. You quickly learn that privacy is the most expensive luxury in the world. But life is not limited to sleeping. There are gyms equipped with weights, bicycles, and punching bags. Exercise here is not optional for a summer body. It is vital for draining aggression and maintaining mental health. There are restrooms with books, films, and games, as well as chapels for different faiths. Because sometimes, you need to pray just to get through the shift. Coexistence on board is brutally intense. There is no escape. You work, eat, train, and rest with the same faces, day after day, for months. Discipline and mutual respect are not just rules in a manual. They are tools for emotional survival. If you do not respect the system, it collapses. This floating city works because of technology, but it would fail without its people. They live cramped, deprived of amenities, with shared showers and eternal night watches. But everyone knows they are part of something bigger. They live in one of the most demanding environments in the world, as a family. A dysfunctional one, perhaps, but a family nonetheless. But this family does not gather in a garden. Their backyard is an airstrip over the ocean that moves, slips, and smells of burning fuel. As soon as you climb the stairs from the cabins, you enter the most dangerous place in the world. Forget civilian workplace safety regulations. Up here, every minute is a choreography of suicidal precision. The FA-18 Super Hornets, toys worth over $70 million each, do not simply take off. They are violently fired by electromagnetic catapults. This technology uses the same energy as a death-defying roller coaster to launch 30 tons into the air in 2 seconds, and the landing is worse. Pilots must hook a steel cable as the ship sways with the waves, breaking from 250 kilometers per hour to 0 in less than 3 seconds. It is like hitting a brick wall, but controlled. In the midst of this mechanical chaos, people are walking. The deck crew looks like a lethal bag of colorful sweets, organized by their t-shirts. The yellows direct traffic, the blues chain the beasts, and the reds handle explosives. Yes, live explosives. The purples pump the fuel and the greens control the launches. The scary part is that they are not all hardened veterans. Many are only 18 or 19 years old.
Just the chicken.
They are
thanks.
just old enough to vote, yet they handle critical tasks where one misstep
the green
makes
beans.
you history. There is no margin for error. A turbine can suck a person in the blink of an eye, or a tension steel cable can snap you in half if it breaks. The heat of the deck melts boot soles, and the noise makes your bones vibrate. It is all deadly risk, yet they operate with a precision that
The
would
pressure
shame
on
a
line
Swiss
3 is
watch. The
fluctuating.
madness
I
does
see it.
not end on the
Adjusting the
surface.
flow right now.
Under the hood, the coordination is just as obsessive. Mechanics, weapons technicians, and radar controllers are all vital valves in the machine. Night landings and storms are not magic. They are achieved thanks to dozens of invisible specialists. Working here requires more than courage. It requires a blind, almost religious trust in the team. But for this entire circus to work without killing anyone, you need energy. A lot of energy. The USS Gerald Ford is not just an aircraft carrier. It is a floating nuclear power plant and a self-sustaining city.
prescription.
In the
Do you have
belly
any
of the
questions for
beast,
the
where the
pharmacist
sun
today?
never reaches,
No, we're
the
good,
nuclear
thank you.
reactors beat. They are the electric heart of this
The
nightmare.
backbone of naval power.
They generate
The carrier
power for
strike
everything,
group.
From threat tracking radar and weapons lifts to kitchen ovens and hospital ventilators. These reactors are a triumph of engineering. They can operate for 25 years without needing to refuel. Imagine driving your car for 2.5 decades without stopping at a petrol station.
Rotor aligned, proceeding
The
to
efficiency
Delta
is
4.
such that they could power a city of 100,000 people without breaking a sweat. All that nuclear power allows for another miracle, turning salty poison into life. Through massive desalination, the Ford sucks up the ocean and produces over 400,000 gallons of fresh water daily. It is enough for drinking, cooking, and washing the clothes of 5,000 sweaty crewmen.
No wonder we're
Ironically, the water these sailors drink is purer than what comes out of the tap in many of our cities. But a city that eats and drinks also generates waste. Managing it here is a military tactic, not just an ecological one. You cannot leave a trail of rubbish for the enemy to track. Everything must die inside the ship. Organic remains are shredded beyond recognition, and human waste is treated to higher standards than in most modern metropolises. Nothing touches the sea without being treated. This level of autonomy is a vital necessity. Hundreds of miles from any port,
USS
there's
Gerald
no
Ford,
room for
the
error.
largest warship ever
Energy,
constructed,
water, and
displacing
cleanliness
over
sustain the mission
100,000
and life itself. On the high seas, if these systems fail, the world's most powerful ship becomes the world's largest floating coffin. But even with reactors built to last, the crew remains the most fragile component. When something goes wrong out here, you cannot call 999. There are no ambulances. You are alone on the map. The USS Gerald Ford must be an autonomous city capable of saving your life while sailing through hell. A level 1 hospital with operating theaters,
drones utilize
x-ray
terrain
rooms,
masking
and a
to evade
pharmacy
detection.
operates on board. Doctors have performed everything from appendectomies to open heart surgery while the ship crosses remote areas. Try to operate with pinpoint accuracy while the ground beneath your feet is tilted by the waves. All this happens while the ocean is trying to kill you. Pacific storms are unforgiving, with hurricane winds and waves over 10 meters high. But the Ford, thanks to its massive weight, does not flinch. While the world outside seems to be ending, the crew continues to operate as if nothing had happened. This city is designed to withstand anything. Viruses,
What is the meaning of
madness,
this?
or storms.
The flank is exposed.
But healing bones
Sensor
is the
readings just
easy part.
changed, sir.
The hard
Look there,
part
near the
is
river.
surviving the threats. The USS Gerald Ford is a high-value target, and the ocean is full of people who want to see it at the bottom. Silent submarines,
This red
suicide
line marks the
drones,
exclusion
and
zone,
hypersonic
20
missiles
miles
are
in every
constant
direction
threats.
from the planet.
Luckily, this
It is a
giant
dead
is not a
zone.
sitting duck. It is a
We have a
fortress
system malfunction
bristling
on the
with
main
weaponry.
display.
The first
Confirmed
line
on
of defense is
secondary. We are
invisible.
locked up.
Dual-band radar. It is an all-seeing eye, capable of tracking projectiles the size of a baseball, moving at absurd speeds. Before the enemy knows they have been detected,
These drones
the Ford has
navigate the
already
hazardous
locked on.
industrial
If
zone
anything
with
breaks through the
pinpoint
ring of
accuracy,
destroyers
a
and
display
cruisers
of
protecting the
engineering
carrier,
marvel.
it will meet hell. The Ford spits out RIM-162 Sea Sparrow and RIM-116 rolling airframe missiles. Think of them as smart bullets moving at Mach 4 to destroy threats before they touch the hull. And if all else fails, the final goalkeeper comes into play. The Phalanx CIWS. It is essentially an R2-D2 on steroids with a 20mm Vulcan rotary cannon. The system is completely autonomous. It detects the threat and vomits tungsten bullets at 4,500 rounds per minute. The sound it makes is not a gunshot, but an electric hum, like a chainsaw cutting through the sky. It is the last line between life and death. But all this technology would be useless junk without the talent, courage, and sacrifice of the sailors. They make the impossible possible. In the middle of the ocean, when everything depends on them, they respond. Now you know the true story behind these floating cities. They are not just feared, they are respected. Over and out.